side of South Bend. Let's be honest about it. This community is frightened after these murders. The city of South Bend will be represented, and we now go live to the police department for our coverage.
I would like to introduce some people that we have here from Osco Drug today. I am Larry Wallstrom. I'm a vice president with the company. We have with us today Ron Green, who is vice president of loss prevention, John Fugelstad, who is our operating vice president, and Terry Malloy, who is our district manager here with the stores in South Bend. We have a short statement that we would like to share with you, some information that we would like to share with you. I would like to read the statement first. On Saturday, August 25th, we suffered a terrible tragedy at our Osco drugstore located on Western Avenue in South Bend. 3 of our valued Osco employees were senselessly murdered by a person or persons unknown. We are grateful to the South Bend Police Department for their tireless efforts in this case. The police department and the city officials have been exceptionally great to work with, and we really appreciate it. American Drug Stores, our parent corporation, has authorized a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and the conviction of the person or persons responsible for this terrible, heinous crime. In cooperation with Lieutenant Sam Walsh, we have set up a 24-hour hotline. This is a dedicated hotline, and if you have any information concerning this brutal crime, please call 219-284-9286. I'd like to repeat that, 219-284-9286. We also appreciate the outpouring and concern from the entire community. We are very concerned about the effect this terrible tragedy has had on all of our Osco people. We have been holding counseling sessions for all of our store people and their immediate families to help them during this grievous process. We also have established a memorial fund for the families of Scott Dick, Tracy Holbet, and Connie Zalewski. For information regarding this fund, please contact the Valley American Bank at 10441 Bendix Drive, P.O. Box 328, South Bend, Indiana, or by telephone 237-4660. That concludes our statement. I would like to ask Mayor Joe Kernan to say a few words, and then we will open the conference to any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Larry. I cannot describe the sorrow that is felt in this community because of what happened on Saturday. It has certainly sent ripples of disgust and sadness and I think community-wide concern that is very understandable in circumstances like this. The investigation began the moment that the police department was notified and has been ongoing ever since. I would like to thank you, Larry, and all of the folks from Osco for the tremendous cooperation that we have received, and can tell you that the efforts of the men and women of the South Bend Police Department has been extraordinary since that time a little over 2 days ago, that those efforts will continue, that the investigation is, in my opinion, in the best hands that it could be in, and we are hopeful that that investigation will bear results with the apprehension and conviction of whoever it was that is responsible for this tragedy in our community. Here with us is Chief Ron Marciniak, Chief of the South Bend Police Department, Sergeant Mike Swanson, investigating officer on the homicides. And with that, I would like to ask him to make a statement and introduce Mike. And Mike, for purposes of questions, and I think most of those questions will be directed at Mike, I would like to ask him to just change places with me.
We have to move closer to the microphone.
This is Ken Byrell reporting from the police department scene, Mike. I think we had the opening statements, and now Chief Ron Marciniak is going to speak.
I would just like to assure everyone that the South Bend Police Department is doing everything humanly possible to try to identify and apprehend the person or persons who are responsible for this particularly heinous and shocking crime. We have been on the scene for over 2 days now. Our technicians are still at the scene along with technicians from the Indiana State Police Lab. We are leaving no stone unturned. We expect that we will be in the store again tomorrow, further processing the scene, and we've had offers of assistance from other law enforcement agencies, the fire department. Anything that we need is at our disposal, and we will use whatever means we can, hopefully, to resolve this crime. Sergeant Swanson, Mike Swanson, is the investigator assigned to the case, and I leave it up to Sergeant Swanson to make any comments regarding to this point.
Okay, basically, the information that we're going to release has pretty much been in the media already. Part of the purpose of this release was to stop misinformation that's come forth through the media and through even our people or wherever it's coming from. We're going to tell you that we were dispatched in reference to suspicious activity of the store. The store, again, as you know, was found to have a back door open, a sounding alarm. Our units responded. We then discovered we had 3 victims in the store. Presently, our investigation has led us to determine that this is an apparent robbery attempt. We do have a loss. We have an undetermined amount of loss. Obviously, the Osco's people have been very cooperative and given us all the time we need. I'm sure the loss won't be determined until some audit or some type of audit is completed. Yes, we've been taking a long time at this crime scene, and I assure you that Osco's has informed us that if it takes another 3 weeks, they will allow us to do that, and if it does take that long, we will take that long. This is a very technical process, and we are going to do and get the best job done. We have one shot at it. We're going to do that, and that's how we handle the crime scene. Presently, as you know, they're still there, and the information that we give out, we know seems sketchy. But there's reasonings for that. So what we do then was to tell you that additionally we will open it for some very specific questions, and some we will not comment on, obviously, but we will field questions if we can.
Sergeant Swanson, there's a report that drugs were among the loss. Were there drugs taken? If so, are they drugs that could be used to make illegal narcotics?
So I'll say our initial observation is we have no drug loss. Our initial observation was that drugs is not a motive in this. Okay. And that's basically all we can say.
Sergeant, do you have a murder weapon?
No, we don't.
Do you have a suspect?
No, particularly no. We have everybody's a suspect at this point. No, we don't have anybody that we're going to release or focus on. We're just going to say that until we're done with the crime scene, and certainly then we'll go someplace from there.
Is there any indication that one of the employees may have known the attacker?
We have no idea if that's the case. We look at all possibilities. That's a possibility as well as this is a stranger. Again, we don't know any specific reason that we can focus on any of this.
With the information you have, Sergeant, have you been able to develop those leads? Are you without leads at this time? Do you feel that this is a solvable case?
Extremely solvable. Certainly, I think that with the efforts of what we're doing, the other evidence we're gathering, that is what makes the case essential to begin with. What Osco's has done with the reward, plus the response from this community, I think the community feels as we do about the type of crime that we're investigating. Our portion community has been very successful at this point. We've received numerous calls, and those are going to be time-consuming for us to follow those up. But every one of them will be looked at some point in time.
Do you think this was the act of a single perpetrator, or do you think there was more than one person involved?
Do you have anything to go on as far as a possible vehicle you're looking for, possible description of it?
Random information is coming forward. All that will be looked at, but to specifically say we're focusing on something, or I won't say anything about it. We are getting a lot of random information. Hopefully that something of that will gel, and we'll be able to go from there.
Sergeant, I think some of the misinformation that you talked about at the beginning here might be in reference to exactly who was in and out of the store and how the doors became locked, and the 2 versions that a customer may have been in the store near the times of the killing, and the fact that employees also showed up possibly in the same time frame as the killer or killers being in the building. Can you explain to us how that whole scenario might work out?
What we we operate as you do, and a lot of it is on speculation at this point. We do know that we have some employees that arrive for work approximately 8:05 a.m. We do know that when they arrive, the doors were secured. Okay, that is not a secret. That's been known. At some point in time, we have a belief that there was a customer entered those locked doors prior to 8:05, we believe, and then exited the store. Again, we're waiting for information, waiting for anybody that may have been there to call us. We're waiting to sift through the amount of calls. And I emphasize we've had a large amount of calls, and it takes a considerable amount of time to track all those calls and to talk to a lot of people. That may have caused some confusion. That's part of what we're here to try to do, is to eliminate some of that confusion. But to say, yes, that we have confirmed that the doors were secured at 8:05 a.m., and that was uncustomary for the procedure of the store, at least to the entrance for the employees to get in there.
Do you think you'll be making an arrest within a few days or within a week?
Pure conjecture. I have no idea.
You're saying the customer that may have entered the store is not contacting you?
We haven't one contact, and what we're doing is concerning ourselves with time frame right now. Again, if that becomes of pertinent information, we certainly have no problem releasing that. And what we're doing is we're locking down time frames, and we have 2 frames of time we're looking at. We're trying to focus in on the time that she may have entered the store.
Sergeant, do you have your autopsy help you determine exactly when the sleepers took place?
No, specific. We have a time frame again as to when that occurred. We're between 7:36 and 8:05 and 8:10 is an example. So we're in that ballpark. That's all we can tell you as far as time frame.
So are you looking for another customer who might have gone in before 8:05?
Very well could be that there's another customer that entered the store, came to the storefront, and may have seen something or knows something that we're asking to do, if she remembers to come forward. We just need to talk with her.
Have Osco's employees said anything to the effect of something may have been wrong, previous phone contacts, suspicious people in the store, or was this the first problem detected Saturday morning?
Indication from the employees that we've interviewed and talked to that this was their first encounter, first problem. We've had numerous calls from other businesses that report seeing suspicious activity, which we certainly don't feel is uncommon, but we appreciate those people and those businesses calling and give us that information. But from Osco itself, no, I don't believe we've had any in particular incident that shed light on that.
Do you have any reason to believe the suspect or suspects may be from outside of the area?
Not particularly, no.
Does Osco have in-store cameras in some of its other stores and other locations? And
Yes, we do.
Were there in-store cameras at this store? And if you have them, did they catch anything on film?
No, there were none.
We do not have anything on film.
Was there anything unusual Saturday morning in terms of the manager opening the store, the employees arriving at that time? Was that pretty much standard practice?
The opening time was within the guidelines, and the employees arriving at that time was just standard guidelines, so there's nothing unusual with that.
Does the first person that goes in the morning, does he or she unlock the door, then relock it? I assume there are alarms that have to be...
In our review, this particular store, our information is they unlock the outer door, secure the inner door, the employees enter the vestibule area, knock the door, and the manager then comes and lets them in. That's the particular procedure for this store.
Was there any sign of forced entry in the back? And there's a follow-up to that.
Are you referring to the back? Are you referring to the back door?
Yes.
No sign of forced entry, no.
Would that indicate that perhaps the suspect or suspects knew the procedures and that therefore may have been a former employee?
It indicates it's the exit to the building is what it indicates to us.
Sergeant, I think this particular crime has created concern, certainly throughout this area, from people who work in establishments that might cash or might have drugs similar to Osco. Is there some increased security that the police department is taking in order to try to watch these things, or is there advice that you're putting out to people to try to prevent these kinds of things?
Certainly, this is the kind of type of incident that alerts an entire community, as well as a business community, as well as all of us as individuals, and I think that's basically what it's done here. It's brought all of us to light that sometimes we can take things for granted and accept certain things, and these kinds of incidents make us wake up and think, maybe we all ought to look a little harder at certain things and become more suspicious and aware of how we deal and how our homes as well as businesses, and I think that's in this particular case the same thing.
Mike, have you been able to determine what happened inside the store Saturday morning in terms of, was one person confronted before another, and then the other two? Do you know what happened inside Osco Saturday morning?
It's pure speculation to do that at this particular time. I think the evidence that we have inside the store is still being gathered. I think, and hopefully at some point in time, based on the evidence when it's in the expert opinion of those people that have been technically working in there for the last 2 days, when we get done with this, we sit down together, we will hopefully come up with some kind of conclusion as to some event or some form of events that occurred inside the store. But right now it's pure conjecture for us to say that we know. We'll all theorize probably for weeks until we have a better idea. I think the evidence will tell some of that. Okay.
Can you tell us, was the money that's missing taken in the safe, transferred to the boat?
We will tell you, as it indicated, that there was money missing from the safe, is all we'll indicate at this time.
Sergeant, was the money in the safe, could that have been from receipts of the night before, or is that routinely cleared out prior?
Again, their policy is they have a normal pickup, and what we just say is that there is money missing from this store safe, okay? They have normal scheduled pickups, and what I'm going to say to you is that that's a store security thing as to when they have the pickups, as well as the armored cars. They'd like to be able to keep that at their own particular schedules. We'll say to you that there was money missing from the safe itself, okay?
Have you established a connection with the Hooks Drug Store robbery of August 17th?
It's a connection. We certainly wouldn't rule it out. We haven't established any connection at all.
Did you get an alarm?
Yeah, you must understand the rear door is a door alarm that alerts the employees in the store that the rear door is open. It's not a signal alarm sent out someplace else. The company themselves did get a receipt alarm or acknowledgement that the business was open, which is normal practice. And the manager pinned in his normal number, and there was no. So everything was normal except the fact that when the alarm did come in, it's just a sound alarm to inform employees that the back door is open, is what it amounts to.
Sergeant, it appears that the crime, in the time frame that you're talking about, where you know when certain people got there and certain things happened, that the police were there relatively quickly, and that the people who committed the crime couldn't have been too far away. Did you have any luck in picking up any evidence from nearby there of suspicious action, someone who might have been fleeing that particular store?
I'll only say that we did gather some evidence within the neighborhood. I'll say that much, okay?
Do you believe that it was an accident, that they were killed? I mean, was it a gang? Was it intentional?
It's pure speculation, I think. Hopefully the evidence will give us some conclusion. Again, we could all sit and draw a conclusion and speculate for weeks. At this point in time, you know, that is pure speculation, and that's not our conclusion at this particular time. I think, again, and I have to reiterate, the evidence tells a lot of stories, and that's exactly what is taking us so long to gather, and we have one shot at this, and we're going to take our best shot until that's done, and then we can sit down, look and collectively piece that together. Hopefully we'll come up with a good conclusion at that particular time. Whether it's accurate or not, that would be our best professional conclusion, at least speculation.
Can you tell us, have you found some concrete pieces of evidence inside the building where you were?
I'll tell you that at any crime scene there's evidence, and again, I think that if you can understand the time they're taking, and we feel and hope that we're going to be successful in gathering some evidence.
You have to understand also that we're talking about a large building, and like Sergeant Sonson said, we get one shot at it. Once we release that store and things go back to normal, we've lost control of it. We're taking our time. In essence, we're going from floor to ceiling in that building, and that's what's taking so long, because we have the one shot. And we don't want to leave any stone unturned in there while we have control of the building.
And again, I guess if I were to say to any one of you, if it was one of your family members, I don't think you would even ask why we were in there. And I think that's how we would feel and expect or ask you to feel. If it was your family, you'd want us in there as long as it took, and if it was my family, I want the same. So.
Do you feel you have a handle on how the gunman got inside the store? Was he let inside? Do you feel you have a handle on how the gunman got inside the store? Was he let in by the employees?
Again, we're going to wait till that evidence is in and try to come up with the best conclusion that we can. All that would be speculation. I might want to make a note for the media release as well, for any people that want to make a call. If they're afraid to call the hotline through Osco's and remain anonymous and don't want to leave a name, the Crime Stopper certainly still accepts the anonymous calls. they would gladly take a call to Crime Stoppers as well, and they'll pass that information along. If anybody wants to remain anonymous, they can do that as well. That's, again, I've been busy, so all I know, there's a stack of them this deep on my desk right now, so I can just say a large amount.
Chief, has there been an increase in the number of businesses that are requesting like escorts or police officers to stand by while they're entering or exiting the business?
Yes, there has. It's understandable that there would be at this time, again, considering the serious of this incident. There has been an increase. We always have available for escort if a business felt it was necessary, and we will continue that practice.
Evidence been sent to the FBI as yet? Who all is involved with the investigation, and have you been able to process and send anything on at this point?
I can tell you that we have on hand in State Police fingerprint examiner as well. He's on hand at the crime scene. I can tell you that we have an argon laser on crime scene, some very technical equipment. We lab in a matter of overnight. At this particular time, we haven't, but we anticipate being in ML within a relatively short order. Again, that's just that would be not unusual for how we would operate anyway.
How many detectives do you have on the team now?
I would guess it would be 6 to 8, somewhere in that area right now.
Certainly you are coming. We would like to say that we are, if any of our customers have emergency prescription needs, they are being served. The phones are being handled by our store on Port Avenue, and we can handle any emergency health needs that our customers would have. We thank you very much for coming.
Mike, this is Ken Viral at this news conference, which has just concluded. We had representatives from Osco and the city and the police department, and I think everybody who was in at the beginning could hear the kind of evidence that the police is working with and the kind of concern that is here. And I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see how this works out.
All right, Ken, thank you very much. Once again, if you were just getting home from work and joining us, that was a live press conference held at the South Bend Police Department with representatives of the city and the police department and several representatives of the Osco drug firm talking about the weekend homicides of 3 employees at an Osco drugstore on the west side. A number of things came out of this press conference today. We should tell you no one has been arrested at this point. The police have said that they have gathered some evidence. They did say that because of the time sequence involved, where the police actually were called, and as far as we know, were on the scene probably within minutes of those 3 murders, they do say that they were able to gather some evidence from the neighborhood, and of course, for obvious reasons, they won't tell us exactly what that evidence is. Some interesting information did come out of the press conference. There had been a lot of talk in the community that possibly the motive behind these homicides had to do with the fact that whomever was involved was actually getting into that drugstore to come out with some drugs of some sort for whatever reason. But the police said today that as far as they can tell in their thorough investigation up to this point, no drugs are missing from the store. Now, that, of course, does not mean that they didn't go in for that reason, but the police said no drugs are missing. They also said that some money is missing from the safe. What the Osco procedure is as far as the receipts that would have come in on Friday is concerned, they would only say that they have regular pickups of their receipts, did not say when those pickups occur, so there was money in the safe, and they know that some of that money is missing. And now let's go back to Ken Viral down at the police station to give us some more information. Ken?
Mike, I think, as you just explained, there seems to be a lot of evidence, and what they're doing is sifting through it. I think one of the concerns was the time that has taken on this case, and because of that, Sergeant Swanson outlined that he was a little worried that some bad information was getting out there and wanted to square it away, and he sat there and answered a lot of questions in trying to do that. I think what triggered that was the time that they're spending at the scene and the confusion over exactly who went in and out of the store that morning. And I think you could tell by the show of force down here that this is a case that they're going to take their time on and piece it together as best they can. And if it takes a while, they're not going to give in to pressure and try to come up with a hurry-up kind of decision on this. It's going to be the kind of thing that they'll take as long as they need to. And even yesterday when I was at the scene down there and was talking to some of the Osco officials, they said the same thing. They're not worried about when that store opens again. It can be closed for as long as the police want to take in there. And at this point, the Osco people haven't even been in to start the inventory that they're so concerned about. So there's patience on that side and patience on the part of the police department. And I think the Osco people are also showing their concern for the family members of the victims and for the other Osco employees. They want to make sure that when those people have to go back into their stores, that they feel secure and safe. I think that's why we have the Osco hotline. That's why we have the $100,000 reward. And that's why Osco is also paying and arranging for special counseling for anyone who wants it. So there's a lot of different things all happening at the same time, and I guess we'll kind of have to see how it all comes together and have a little patience in this.
Ken, don't you think that the look on the mayor's face and the words that he used, too, pretty much said how this community feels right now? There's a lot of anguish in this community, and as we said earlier, people are frightened, and I think that showed on the mayor's face today, and why all of these people involved want to get this solved whenever they can.
I think Mayor Kernan once again showed that he's in touch with the community. He understands the pain and the concern that everyone is feeling around here, and he was also on the scene for a lot of time on Saturday when the bodies were still in there, when people were still arriving. Police really didn't have much to say, and when we all really were just trying to figure out what was going on. He was there to help as he could. I was told that the police officers do appreciate that kind of thing, and I think what the mayor said here today was very well put and summed up exactly how this community feels. And he's going to be doing all he can, even from an administrative position, to get this thing solved.
Ken, let's point out, I said early in the press conference that a memorial fund has been set up for the victims, and if I wrote it down correctly, at Valley American Bank. Is that how you understood it, Ken?
Yes, that's a new development today. They have set up a memorial fund at Valley American Bank. Any donations that go there be split evenly between the families of the 3 victims. It's another thing Osco is doing to try to show that they truly do have some concern. And they're also still really urging people to call that hotline. They want some good, solid information that the police can use. They have dedicated a telephone line into this building that is manned 24 hours a day, strictly to take calls about this case. That's another show by Osco in a corporate way, but it's something that shows that they're trying to help. And a $100,000 reward. That's something that they hope leads to some solid information. We're worried, of course, as a corporate business, they'll want this call.
Okay, and again, the phone number, the police this morning asked everyone to call us 284-9286, and of course, anyone who wishes to remain anonymous can always call Crime Stoppers to bring them up to date on that information. Again, Ken, thank you very much. I've been watching live coverage of a press conference at the South Bend Police Department where they have brought us up to date on the latest information concerning the homicides on Saturday. That started at 4:30. We're now into our regular live at 5, and for those of you just joining us, we can tell you that police don't yet know if drugs were taken during Saturday's